From the moment he was drafted by the Milwaukee Bucks, he dominated the NBA. He was recording numbers that the league had never seen before or since. We're talking about a player who many consider the greatest center ever. There are some who go as far as to say that he's the greatest player of all time. Most fans are more familiar with what he accomplished when he was playing with the Lakers, but his peak was when he was with the Milwaukee Bucks. For the 6 years that he was with the franchise, this is what he accomplished. He won a title, a Finals MVP, 3 regular season MVPs, and 2 scoring titles. Now here's his combined averages: 30.4 points on 55% shooting, 15.3 rebounds, 4.3 assists, and around 3.4 blocks per game. Let's keep in mind that the league started to keep track of blocks and steals during the 1973-74 season. Those numbers are outright insane. This gives us an idea of how great he was playing on both ends of the floor. But after doing a deep dive into each of those 6 seasons, I was able to appreciate his greatness even more. Here's what I found. You won't find another player who took over the NBA as quickly as Kareem did. In just his second season, he became the first player to win the scoring title, regular season MVP, and Finals MVP in the same year. It took another 20 years until Michael Jordan accomplished this in 1991. He wasn't supposed to make it look this easy, this quickly. He averaged 31.7 points on 58% shooting, 16 rebounds, and 3.3 assists per game. You're looking at the 3rd most efficient scoring season by anyone who's averaged over 30 points. For all the Bucks fans out there, Giannis holds the top 2 spots for this particular category. But what truly sets this season apart is what he accomplished in the playoffs. He was going to be tested to the fullest, as he was going to face 3 of the best big men of this era. That includes Nate Thurmond, Wilt Chamberlain, and Wes Unseld. However, he exerted his dominance against each and every one of these Hall of Fame centers. For the playoffs, he averaged 26.6 points on 52% shooting and 17 rebounds per game. When it was all said and done, he led his team to statistically the most dominant single season ever. In the regular season, the Bucks won 66 games. They also had the 2nd highest simple rating system and the 3rd highest margin of victory ever. They beat their opponents by 12.2 points per game. In the playoffs, they only lost 2 games. They had the 5th highest playoff win percentage among all teams. But here's the most important stat. The Bucks hold the record for the highest margin of victory in the playoffs. They beat their opponents by a margin of 14.5 points per game. Only one of their victories came by single digits. There is no question that this year by Kareem is in the running for the greatest season by a player ever. How could he ever top what he did in just his 2nd year? Well, he went on to have the most valuable regular season in 1972. Here's an unbreakable record that he holds. He earned a ridiculous 25.4 win shares. That is the highest mark in league history. This is one of the greatest scorers ever was at his best. He recorded his career high in points. He averaged 34.8 points on 57% shooting, 16.6 rebounds, and 4.6 assists per game. When we think of dominant big men, we surely bring up players like Shaq and Wilt for the physical advantages they had over their opponents. However, Kareem displayed the same level of efficiency while utilizing a wide array of shots to score whenever he wanted. John McLaughlin, a member of the 1971 team, confirmed how skillful a scorer he was. He said this to the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel: "There's probably never been a center with his offensive skills. Wilt was the most dominant offensive player ever, but he didn't have Kareem's skills." End of quote. The Bucks benefited so much from having arguably the most talented player to ever play the position. It is no surprise that he won the MVP for the 2nd straight year. They continued their dominant ways and won 63 games. For the 2nd consecutive year, they beat their opponents by an average margin of over double digits. They currently rank 7th all time with an 11.6 margin of victory. Kareem and the Milwaukee Bucks were truly unstoppable. It took another historically great team to prevent them from winning back-to-back titles. It was the Los Angeles Lakers, led by Jerry West and Wilt Chamberlain, the same team that won 33 straight games and 69 overall for the season. They lost in 6 games in their conference finals matchup. There is no shame in losing to a team like that. But this wasn't going to stop his momentum. In the 1972-73 season, he made even more history. For the 3rd straight year, he averaged over 30 points per game and led his team to over 60 victories. The only other player who could say that has done the same is Michael Jordan. Only he was that explosive on offense while leading his team to one dominant season after another. But that's not all that he accomplished. This was also the third consecutive year that he earned over 20 win shares. If you look at the top 7 highest win shares for a season since the shot clock era, the list only consists of 2 players, Wilt and Kareem. The numbers say that the way he was impacting his team can only be compared to what Wilt Chamberlain was doing during his peak. This particular season showcased how great he was in other aspects of the game. He averaged 30.2 points on 55% shooting, 16.1 rebounds, and 5 assists per game. This is only the 4th time that a player's averaged over 30 points, 15 rebounds, and 5 assists. Wilt did it twice, and Elgin Baylor also recorded those numbers. Kareem has always been praised for his scoring and rebounding abilities, but he was also a talented playmaker. He was great at finding cutters and passing out of the double team. He did not have the reputation of being a selfish scorer. He displayed this kind of maturity right from the start, and this played a major role in why they were able to win so quickly. You would think that Kareem posting those numbers and the Bucks winning 60 games would be more than enough for him to win the MVP. Unfortunately, he experienced one of the biggest snubs in league history. He lost the MVP to Dave Cowens. If you look at the numbers, there is no logical reason for him to have won the award. You can blame this on voter fatigue and wanting to reward the best player on the team that won 68 games. He was robbed of joining Bill Russell, Wilt Chamberlain, and Larry Bird in winning the award 3 straight times. At this point in the video, we don't want to forget the other players who contributed to the team's success. They had great role players like Lucius Allen, Greg Smith, and John McLaughlin. Then they had the Hall of Fame forward, Bob Dandridge, and of course, the greatest point guard in NBA history up to that point, Oscar Robertson. There were a lot of great pieces, and Oscar should receive a lot of credit for the amount of winning the team was experiencing. But do you remember what happened before the Big O arrived? We're talking about Kareem's rookie year. Let's not forget that this was an expansion team. They had just come into existence in the 1968 offseason, and they only won 27 games. It's true that they traded for Flynn Robinson and drafted Bob Dandridge in the 4th round. We're not dismissing those additions, but who deserves the most credit for this team winning 56 games and improving by 29 wins? Everyone was pointing to Lou Alcindor. They had a player who finished 2nd in scoring, 3rd in rebounds, and led all centers in assists. Sports Illustrated went as far as to say that he is easily the best player in basketball and will soon be the best ever. That was the impression that he left. The world had never seen a player at his size do all the things that he could do. He still had a lot to learn, but he was already toying with his opponents. There is no question that this is among the greatest rookie seasons in league history. We fast forward to 1974. This was Oscar Robertson's final year, and he was a shell of himself. At 35 years old, he was averaging 12.7 points on 44% shooting, 6.4 assists, and 4 rebounds per game. This was no longer a team that was loaded with star talent. In fact, Kareem was the only player who was selected to be an All-Star. Despite all of that, the Bucks finished with the best record, the highest offensive rating, and the 2nd best defensive rating. Once again, there's only one player who deserves all the credit for that. The numbers say it all. He averaged 27 points on 54% shooting, 14.5 rebounds, 4.8 assists, and 3.5 blocks per game. This should be considered a Kareem Abdul-Jabbar stat line. He is the only player to ever post those numbers in a season. He was extremely productive in every facet of the game. We also finally have an idea of the type of rim protector he was. The league finally decided to keep track of blocks and steals. For the next 7 seasons, he either finished 1st or 2nd in blocks per game. His length and athleticism allowed him to be the ultimate anchor on defense. During that era, it was vital to have that kind of defensive weapon. It's no wonder that the Bucks finished 1st in defensive rating in 1971 and 1972. Then they finished 2nd in 1973 and 1974. But if you want to know when Kareem was at his absolute best, it was in the 1974 playoffs. He was on a mission to carry his team to the title. He averaged 32.2 points on 56% shooting, 15.8 rebounds, 4.9 assists, and 2.4 blocks per game. He completely dismantled the Lakers and Bulls in the Western Conference playoffs. In the finals against the Boston Celtics, they knew they were going to have their hands full, especially with Lucius Allen missing the entire postseason and Oscar being limited. They needed Kareem to play at a level he never had before, and he didn't disappoint. Nothing was bigger than what he did in Game 6. It's what many consider to be one of the greatest clutch moments in league history. Kareem made his classic sky hook with 3 seconds remaining in the second overtime. He saved the Bucks season and forced the Game 7. At that spot, you just never saw a big man who was capable of hitting that big of a shot. Bill Russell or Wilt Chamberlain were never asked to step up in those moments, and it's still rare for the team's center to be the most reliable player in the clutch. But Kareem was just different. Unfortunately, it wasn't enough to defeat the Celtics. Their death was just too much to handle for the short-handed Bucks. In Kareem's last season with the team, they got a taste of what life would be like without him. He missed the first 60 games after fracturing his hand during the preseason. With him gone, the Bucks had a 3-13 record. That included an 11-game losing streak that they suffered. This proves more than anything how valuable he was to that team. When he was on the floor, the Bucks went 35-30. There's no question that they would have easily made the playoffs if he were healthy for the entire season, but they just missed the cut by 2 games. It wasn't exactly the best way to end his tenure with the organization, but it doesn't take away all the historic moments that he had. We've already mentioned his most noteworthy ones, but we don't want to dismiss the other legendary games that he had, and there is truly a long list. In the regular season, he had 10 50-point games and 45 40-point games. That includes 14 games where he posted over 40 points and 20 rebounds. It would be too much to go through all of them, so we'll just mention the most eye-popping performances. In his rookie season, he gave the Seattle Supersonics 51 points on 72% shooting. He's only one of 8 rookies to score over the half-century mark. Then, in 1972, he scored 50 points on 56% shooting against Wilt Chamberlain and the Lakers. This was the only time that a rival center gave Wilt a 50-piece. Then we have his monster performance against Bill Walton and the Portland Trail Blazers in 1975. He had 50 points on 60% shooting, 15 rebounds, 11 assists, 3 blocks, and 1 steal. Wilt and Jokic are the only other centers to record a 50-point triple-double. That was the only time he proved how great an all-around player he was. In 1972 against the Phoenix Suns, he had 44 points on 69% shooting, 20 rebounds, and 11 assists. This is only the 12th time that a player has posted a 40-20-10 game. If you want efficiency, then I present to you what he did in his rookie season. He scored 41 points on 89% shooting against the Sixers. In the following year, he gave the Blazers 44 points on 87% shooting. If you want defense, check out what he did against the Pistons in 1973. He had 10 blocks along with 19 points and 16 rebounds. Now you want to see his best performances in the playoffs. In his rookie year, he was already giving teams the business. He gave the Sixers 46 points on 50% shooting along with 25 rebounds. Then there was the monster game he had against Willis Reed and the eventual champions, the New York Knicks. In their only victory of the series, he had 33 points on 50% shooting, 31 rebounds, and 5 assists. Then we have the entire 1974 Conference Finals series against the Chicago Bulls. He averaged 34.8 points on 66% shooting, 19.5 rebounds, 3.8 assists, and 2 blocks per game. As you would imagine, the Bucks swept Chicago by Kareem's dominant numbers. In total, he had 10 playoff games where he posted over 30 points and 20 rebounds, and 2 games where he had over 40 points and 20 rebounds. This is why Kareem's Milwaukee Bucks era deserves more love. He was unquestionably the NBA's greatest player during that time. If we're talking players at their peak, this deserves to be in the conversation for the greatest ever. But what about you all? What do you remember the most from his time with the Bucks? Where do you think it ranks among the greatest peaks ever? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching.